People say you should never judge a book by its cover, but we all do, right? I mean, I know I do. Like, oh, I do. I got this idea in my head to do this kind of a video, and it just seemed like a fun video idea, and I don't really see a lot of them online, like, ever, and I thought, that's really strange. Why don't people do more of this? So I did a quick little search of YouTube, and I found out this was a really trendy thing to do, like, 4 fucking years ago, which was, in my defense, before I was creating content on the internet, which is probably why I don't remember it being a thing, so that's my excuse for that. And also, I'm probably about 4 years too late to this party, but that's all right. But then I had another problem, and that was, what fucking books do I judge, and what covers do I judge? Do I take ones I have read, haven't read, new books, old books? I mean, there's so many books. So I came up with some ground rules. First off, I just picked the top 5 books from 2 of my top 10 videos, that being top 10 horror of all time and top 10 sci-fi of all time. And I took the top 5 books from each list, and I'm going to judge those covers. Then, some of these books are really old, so there's like 100 different variations of book covers that I could pick from. So then I said, no, it has to be a cover that I own. Otherwise, we'll be here all day, and I could literally sift through all of these covers just to find good ones or bad ones, and I could really manipulate this into being whatever I wanted it to be. And I thought it's just more fun if it's actually the covers that I have in my personal collection. Then on top of that, by it being the top 5 books from both of my lists, we know that they are books that I love dearly. So if I go and I just rail against one of these covers for being terrible, people can't come at me and be like, well, he just is being mean to that book. Actually, it's one of my favorite books ever. It's just a trash cover. So anyway, let's get going. Now, first up is 1Q84. And actually, I lied. I cheated. This is book number 6. It's not even in the top 5. I snuck it in here, so there's going to be 11 books on this list. But if I ever make one of these videos where I don't cheat in some way, shape, or form, you'll have to let me know, because that'll probably be a first. Anyway, I wanted this one on here because I don't like it. And as a matter of fact, I think that these covers that he gets, at least the ones with these pictures on it, are actually famous pictures from a famous photographer. I don't know, at least I think they are. But I don't care. I just don't think, it's just not a very attractive look. It's not a very attractive book. And then the cover is made of this like tissue paper. You literally can't even touch it without feeling like you're going to rip it into like little itty bitty pieces. Not a good book experience, I would say. Just not. Hold on real quick, got to bring it back out. We're going to get, we didn't rate it. We didn't even judge it. 5 out of 10, right down the middle of the road average. Not bad. It's not a bad cover. I want more out of it. That's all. All right, next up, The Shining by Stephen King. This is, first off, spoiler alert, full disclosure, I am a big time sucker for classic vintage covers. I just love this old style, this old look. Just everything about them is wonderful. I love it. So I like this color. Obviously, I like this cover. But then on top of it, it's just got that nice font. Everything has got this beautiful green tone to it. It is just kind of uniform in its like weird green wash. Then it looks like an old watercolor painting. Oh my goodness. This is good. The stroke outlining on The Shining is yellow. Just the whole book. 9 out of 10. Good job. Doubleday. Dune Messiah. Now, this is another one that is a vintage book cover that I just absolutely love. Now, as a matter of fact, I love all of the Dune covers, and at this point, I'm kind of wishing that I had put Dune, the first book of Dune, on here, because it is just by far my favorite Dune cover, like, ever. It is just so cool. Actually, it kind of reminds me of that painting that I have on my wall right behind me. But anyway, and as a matter of fact, talking about the original Dune covers, Dune Messiah is probably my least favorite of all of those first edition covers for the 6 Dune books. It's actually probably on the bottom of that list. But it's still this neat little, just classic sci-fi cover with the, I don't know. I really enjoy it, but I'm going to say it's probably a little bit lower on the list, more like a 7 out of 10, we'll say. But I just adore these old classic covers. 1984. This is... Look at this. Look at this. This is bad. This is shamefully bad. I don't know who designed this or made this. This is not a good cover. This is like this is what people thought in 2016 or whenever this was printed. I don't know, maybe it was closer to 2020, that this was like some ultra modern contemporary idea. Ooh, Big Brother is watching you, so we're going to make it an eyeball and we're going to make it, I don't know what this shit is, but it's shamefully bad. And I think the paperback edition looked exactly like this, at least in the bookstores when I bought it and when I read it. I wish I had like an old vintage version of that, because this book's like a 10 out of 10, maybe not quite. But and this cover, dude, legit, like I'm gonna say like a 3. I don't like it. I've never liked it. It's just yuck. And I do have the Folio Society edition of this book, and I avoided bringing out any Folio Society editions except for one, just because I only have one copy of that book, and it is the Folio edition. But it's not fair. We can't really judge the Folio editions because those are just like the nicest books ever made, and it's not fair to put that in a list with like normal ass books like this, which looks bad, by the way. Anyway, I'm done ranting about the 1984 book. It's ugly. It's a 3. Next up, Ubik. And here we go. This is great. This is a straight, we're not even messing around here. This is a 10 out of 10. I love this cover. Once again, classic cover, so I'm going to be inclined to like it. It's unfair how much I like these covers, so they're probably getting a little bit of a handicap, but that's not the point. This is a 10 out of 10. I love it. It has to do with the book. It's very relevant to the book and the content inside it, and then it just looks like this old piece of flash art from like the 1960s. It's a spray can with pink spray coming out of it. Oh my God, it's so good. Then on top of all of that, and I do not know if you can see this, but my copy has like a cigarette burn on the cover, and it is one of my favorite things about this book, because there is nothing more Philip K. Dick than having a cigarette burn on the cover of your book. I'm sure, I mean, whatever value this had, it's a little book club edition. I'm sure it reduces the value for me to resell it. But as far as having it in my collection, just knocks it over the top. Favorite thing about that entire book is the cigarette burn. Not gonna lie. Next up, the H.P. Lovecraft. I put on my list of the top 10 horror books, I put Color Out of Space, which is actually a short story in this book. And this is the version that I have, and this is absolutely phenomenal. This is beautiful. I love it. I don't normally like these leather bound, I think it's a Barnes and Noble edition or something like that. They'll have like a whole fancy table set up with all their leather bound editions, and they'll have a similar look and feel and vibe to them. And normally walk right past that table and go find a different edition. I'm not a big fan, but this one is just lovely. I love everything about it. Really, it's just a nice looking book. It's a nice looking edition. I'll try to get pictures of this if I can find it online. Otherwise, I don't know what I'll do. But yeah, just a neat little edition, and it looks great. Cthulhu's looking gnarly. I'll give this one an 8. We'll say 8 out of 10. Next up, Uzumaki. And I'm going to say, I don't like this. This is not a great cover. I don't think this cover looks very good. You pull it down off the shelf, you get to looking at it, it's just a little bit drab, a little bit bland, a little bit boring. I just don't enjoy looking at it. I don't think it's very good. Now, that being said, the spine is quite nice, and if you put it on a shelf with some of Junji Ito's other books, the spines actually kind of match and line up and create this wonderful look on the bookshelf. So if you're judging it based on what the spine looks like on the shelf next to other Junji Ito books, it's actually very nice. But if you're judging it by the cover, not good. Don't like it. I think it's pretty terrible. So this one's going to go ahead and get a dual score. I'll say a 4. That's not so egregiously bad that it's literally terrible. And probably like a 7 when you line up the spines. That's pretty, yeah, I do like the spine. Next up, Pet Sematary by Stephen King. Here we go again. We got another vintage book cover, and it is Stephen King with the cat and the green eyes and the I mean, this is just great. This is another good book cover. It is, I don't know, I don't think you can fault this one. The artist, it just, everything about it works, and it looks really, really good. And Stephen King books are real hit or miss. They are not all great, let me tell you. Some of them are just bad. But this one is quite well done. I do like it. I don't know if it's quite as good as The Shining. The Shining might be better. Now that I'm saying this, I don't even remember what I gave The Shining, and I just said it like 5 seconds ago. But I'm going to give this one a 7. I think it's good. I think it's quite well done. Yep. Next up, Something Wicked This Way Comes. Now, this is the one that I really tried to avoid putting Folio Society editions on here, but I only have the Folio Society edition of this one. And I don't care if you're looking at the slip cover for this thing or if you're looking at the book cover of this thing. This is a 10. There is no avoiding how glorious this book cover is and how wonderful it looks on the shelf. And how good it feels in the hand, by the way. That has nothing to do with anything, but I just have to say that. Anyway, yeah. And that bright, vibrant yellow, the font that is used for the title, oh my goodness. It doesn't get much better than this. This actually might be my favorite Folio Society edition that I own. Don't hold me to that, because I could change my mind at any minute, but as of right now, I'm going to say this is like an 11 out of 10, because not only is it that beautiful, but it's actually also so beautiful that it's like my favorite Folio Society edition, just because I can't handle looking at it. It's that pretty. Next up, Neuromancer. I have 2 copies of Neuromancer, and they're both bad. Like, I can't, it's shameful. It's truly shameful. I have multiple copies of actually a couple of these books, but that's not I didn't bring the multiple copies out on any of them, but I had to with Neuromancer just to illustrate. Both of these are bad. I have 2 copies, and they both look terrible. This one is especially egregious because it's the Easton Press edition. It's a leather-bound Easton Press edition of Neuromancer, and it still looks like shit. What is it? Shame on whoever is making these editions of Neuromancer. These are terrible. Now, if I had, by chance, this edition of Neuromancer, we would be talking like 11 out of 10. This is probably one of the most iconic book covers of all time, for good reason, because it's just so phenomenally beautiful. But we don't have that edition. I have this edition. I have whatever this is, and it's just about, I don't know. I will admit the Easton Press is definitely better than the Penguin Galaxy, but that doesn't change the fact that neither of them are good. We're going to say like a 2 and a 3. Yeah. Yep. All right. Now, last but not least, The Shadow of the Torturer, or The Book of the New Sun, however you want to look at it. And I'm going to say I have a confession to make when it comes to this book. When I first saw this cover, I did not like it. I looked at it and I said, "Yeah, that's a oh." As much as I like vintage book covers, not so sure about that one. And I think it might have been, I don't know what it was about the style. It might have been the weird vintage bondage, like BDSM bondage mask this guy's wearing is a little off-putting. I don't know if I like that. I don't know. I looked at it and I said, well, that's just not very good. The more I have owned it, the longer I have looked at it, I have softened on it to the point where actually I think it's great. Everything about it is wonderful. You can tell it just has this real 80s vibe and feel to it. The pattern on the underneath side of his cloak, the skulls, the hair, the spikes, all the way to this like the wispy, whimsical style of the railings around him. Everything about this is great, and I have made a complete 180 on my initial judgment of the cover. The more I look at it now, the more I go, how did I not like this? And that was only like, I don't know, two and a half years ago. Not that long. And I've gone from thinking it was bad to like, it's just one of my, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites. No, that's pushing it too far. But I genuinely like an 8 out of 10. Absolutely. I don't know what the fuck was wrong with me. Shame on me for being stupid 2 years ago. That's what I say. Anyway, that's the end of my books, and that's the end of the video. Actually, as a matter of fact, if you have any favorite book cover or least favorite, which ones do you love and or hate the most on your bookshelf? And go ahead and drop those down in the comments. And as always, everybody, the link for my Patreon's in the description below. The link for my Discord's in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.